This is PIX on Politics Daily with Dan Mannarino.
All right, everybody, welcome to Pop Daily. I'm Dan Mannarino, PIX on Politics Daily. It is Monday, July 7th. Hopefully, all of you had a fantastic 4th of July. I know many of you had some time off, and Pop Daily was off for a week. So, in the past week, a lot has happened, right? Including the fact that Zohran Mamdani in the mayor's race is officially the Democratic nominee. And it kind of caught people by surprise when they ran out their ranked choice. He won just in the first few rounds. I mean, he had run it in round one, but they wanted to see where the ranked choice simulation would be. In round three, he hit that 50% threshold. So now he is forging ahead as a Democratic nominee. There's some controversy around that, right? With some Democrats not really supporting him just yet. We have Andrew Cuomo, whose name is still on the ballot. He said he was going to run as an independent. That's what he told me when we did that last interview with him. And currently, what I'm being told from sources is that he's weighing his options now after he saw the ranked choice simulation to decide if he's actually going to run a campaign or just kind of let it fizzle out. Now, his name will be on the ballot regardless in November because that's how things move in the world of politics, right? His name is officially on the ballot. He didn't pull out of that. But whether or not he will run a real campaign, that is still be determined. Eric Adams also on the independent line, and Jim Walden on the independent line. And then you have the Republican nominee, Curtis Sliwa, who, by the way, is going to be on PIX on Politics Friday night at 6:30. What's interesting here is their former governor of New York, David Paterson, had supported Andrew Cuomo. He is holding a press conference today with other Democratic leaders, and they're going to urge some sort of consolidation around some of these candidates. There's been a push to tell Curtis Sliwa to drop out so that people would focus on Eric Adams to stop Zohran Mamdani from winning. It's all going to be very interesting what plays out from now until November. And we're going to be there every step of the way. We have Curtis Sliwa on this Friday. We had Eric Adams last week. And then we have Jim Walden next week. And we are trying to get Zohran Mamdani on for the week after that. So stay tuned for the mayor's race that we are closely following. Of course, there's a race for governor of New Jersey that we're closely following as well. So that's the world of politics right now. And then on July 4th, we got word that the big, beautiful bill, as President Trump calls it, actually passed both the House and the Senate, and he signed it into law. So with that comes a lot in that big, beautiful bill. It's over 900 pages. What we've been focusing on are cuts to the healthcare world, right? Specifically Medicaid. I know some folks were looking at the SALT benefits, whether or not SALT was going to come back, and it quadrupled in this bill at a $40,000 limit. And so that was what some folks in our area were really concerned about after SALT was completely eliminated, how much it would come back. But there are a lot of effects when you read it. It's 900 pages. So today we're going to talk about how this kind of affects Planned Parenthood, specifically here in our area in New York. So let me bring in Robin Chappelle Golston. She's the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood for Empire State Acts. Robin, great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So the big, beautiful bill, as President Trump calls it, I know some folks are saying, well, it wasn't so beautiful in terms of what it would do to their agencies in terms of cuts. So I wanted to talk to you specifically about Planned Parenthood and what exactly you saw this bill and what it's doing now to the organization.
Sure. So thank you so much. They've been trying this for many years, but unfortunately, what stayed within the bill that President Trump signed was a defund of Planned Parenthood, which means that basically we cannot get reimbursements for federal Medicaid. Over half of our patients are Medicaid patients. And so now we're not able to get federal funding for that. So obviously this is a backdoor abortion ban, and this will impact even states that have legal abortion. But obviously they've been working on this for many, many years. And unfortunately, we're able to get it through this time.
Yeah, so there's 47 health centers across the state, many which serve rural and medically underserved communities. Now, this was some concern, not just with Planned Parenthood, but some Republican senators like Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. She was very concerned that the bill would pull funding from rural areas. She still voted yes in the end, but she voiced concern that this would pull from these rural and underserved areas. How are you going to see that kind of play out, specifically within rural communities?
Yeah, so she knew the truth, and she knew how harmful this bill would be. So 60% of our health centers are in rural or medically underserved areas. So this is going to have a huge impact on preventative care, from STI treatments to cancer screenings to wellness care, abortion, and sexual and reproductive health across the board. People have no place else to go. And so this is going to have a huge impact on people's access to care. It's interesting because everyone was saying how there was no harm to this, but you saw all the Republicans trying to cut deals for their states because they knew how harmful this was.
Right, and that's what she was talking about, right? So when you look at this, because I think people think of Planned Parenthood, and you mentioned the abortion ban, people automatically assume Planned Parenthood is just for that, abortion. But there are other services provided, basic health services as well. Can you kind of walk me through some of that?
Sure. So, I mean, we provide contraception, STI treatment and testing, cancer screenings, wellness, so gynecological services. I mean, this is crucial primary care that we provide across the state and across the country. So this is going to have huge impacts. And although they're going after us because of abortion, that is just a piece of what we provide in terms of care for people. So this is going to have a huge impact. And also, New York was adamant about supporting abortion rights. So obviously they're impacting even states where people support abortion rights and access. So this is really a backdoor ban across the country.
Just to give some folks at home a little bit of understanding, in 2023, Planned Parenthood provided 146,800 patients with birth control, 331,225 STI tests, right? So when you look at those numbers, those are big numbers. With this now, this new bill, how does any of those numbers change? If people come in for those things, can they still get it?
So at this moment, we're working closely with the state. We have to figure this out, obviously, but we're going to provide care as long as we can. But unfortunately, this is a huge burden. I mean, we're basically losing funding for half of our patients. So obviously, this is going to have a huge impact. And we want to make sure that health centers are able to stay open through this transition. But we really need a lot of help. And we know that the state is overburdened with how harmful this bill is overall. But this is something we're going to really need help with, because obviously this took effect immediately when some of the other harmful policies are kind of, in waves. And not that that makes it any better, but this is something that's an immediate impact. And so we have to resolve this quickly.
So how is Planned Parenthood responding, I guess, in terms of next steps? Because once funding gets pulled, do some of these centers get closed down entirely?
I mean, that's what we're trying to avoid. So we're talking closely with the state and all of the key players to make sure, unfortunately, we're going to depend on the state to really provide that stopgap in terms of the funding that we're losing instantly. It took effect
What's the state
immediately.
saying?
So, I mean, I think we're in conversations and we're going to see how this plays out. Obviously, they know the harm and how beneficial we are to the community and the services we provide. But this is, obviously there's a lot of harm in this overall bill. So I think they're, a little overwhelmed, honestly, but it's something that they're going to have to address quickly. So we're, in good conversations, we're continuing that. We're also really calling out people that voted for this bill because they knew the harm. And we're going to continue to do that. But, obviously this is going to have consequences for a lot of people, unfortunately.
Yeah, and can you explain the Medicaid component to it and how that kind of contributes to Planned Parenthood? Because some people think Medicaid, Medicare specifically is for senior citizens, but how does that play a factor into how you pay your bills?
So Medicaid, I mean, we see half of our patients at our affiliates are Medicaid patients. So basically they're blocking federal funding for that. So we are continuing to see patients and we'll continue to do so as long as we can. But obviously we're not getting paid for those patients right now. So that has a huge impact, needless to say.
Okay, so if somebody comes in, say, with health insurance, does that help?
Yes. I mean, obviously we're continuing to see patients, all kinds of patients.
Yeah.
We have sliding scales. There's different methods to make sure that we're able to provide the care that is needed. But obviously this is a huge impact. So right now we're just kind of holding to see and work out with the state in terms of next steps. So obviously this is moving very quickly. We were hoping that it would get out of the bill and not be in the final bill. But, at this point, we're going to have to really move quickly to make sure that we're able to provide care to people who need it. And, I think we've been trying to uplift the harm that this is going to cause. But obviously, we want to also make sure that patients know they can still receive care.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think that's that's what's important right now, people that understand that they can still receive care. Prior to this bill being signed, right? And there were a lot of discussions about so many different facets of it, including the SAL cap and so on and so forth. But were you guys in contact, were Planned Parenthood, with congressional members to say, look, this is how it's going to affect us? And did you hear any kind of response back?
I mean, obviously we have a lot of allies that were fighting and trying to uplift our issues and the harm that this was going to create. But like I said, you saw a lot of the Republicans that ended up voting for this bill trying to cut deals for their own states because they knew that this was really going to harm access to health care across the board, including us. We even had congressional members in our state saying that cutting Planned Parenthood would really create problems for them. So they're very aware of what they did, but unfortunately the bravery was not there.
Yeah. Keep us posted on this moving forward, okay? Because we do want to. We're going to be talking to Congresswoman Laura Gillen, a Democrat from Long Island, this Thursday. I'm going to be interviewing her for PIX on Politics to find out kind of how she can maybe help in these situations too moving forward. So as you hear more, keep us posted because we want to follow the story very closely.
That's great. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, Robin, thank you very much. So that brings me to this week, everybody. So PIX on Politics this Friday, we have a big show. So we're focusing back on the mayor's race, right? We're going to talk one-on-one with Curtis Sliwa, who is the Republican candidate for mayor. And we're also going to be talking to Laura Gillen. She was there for the vote, right? She was part of these negotiations. She was in the room where it happened, kind of figuring out some of these backdoor deals. And so I want to talk to her really about what she saw play out, what this impact has on her community on Long Island as well. So that's all coming up this week on PIX on Politics. But it's good to be back with you all. And if you have some ideas or we want something further discussed, laid out, broken down from this bill, because it is 900 plus pages, send us an email, dan@pix11.com. We want to hear from you at home. But in the meantime, that will do it for Pop Daily. I'll see you back here tomorrow.